It is 12 noon across the great state of Alabama. Thanks for tuning us in here on Three Man Front. Pat Landrum, Molly, Conrad will be back with us tomorrow. And Conrad got some good news today. Ty Simpson announces he is going to the NFL draft, as now Keelan Russell and Austin Mack will battle it out for the top quarterback position for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama also today out of the transfer portal. Devin Tompkins, who is one of the biggest names that's in the transfer portal from the defensive line position, he has committed to the University of Alabama, the 6'5", 285-pound defensive lineman. The last couple seasons, he has played for the Southern California Trojans. He's out of Stockton, California. He is the number 3 player, according to 247, in the transfer portal rankings at the defensive line position. Last night, Alabama got inside offensive lineman Caden Strayhorn. He is transferring from Michigan to Alabama. Also, Virginia Tech inside linebacker Caleb Woodson. He is heading to the Capstone to play linebacker. He has been a very good piece of the Virginia Tech Hokie defense the last couple of years. Alabama did lose someone in the portal, Kelby Collins. He has decided that he is going to forego his final season at Alabama. He is going to move along. The Gardendale native played 2 years at the University of Florida, played this last season at Alabama. Bama, good news last night. Lottie Brooks, he has re-signed with Alabama, had an incredible first year with the Tide, number 17. It's not going out on a limb here, but without him in that Oklahoma game, don't know if there would have been a comeback. So Brooks has been re-signed by Alabama. Meanwhile, Landrum, some news out of Auburn this morning. They have got a former Thompson High School product is coming to the Plains.
Yeah, it's Michigan State transfer offensive lineman Stanton Rommel, 6'7", 312 pounds. Pat just mentioned he played his high school football at Thompson. He was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school, was the number 220 overall recruit in the 2023 cycle, and he was rated a 3-star prospect most recently in the transfer portal, but 11th best offensive tackle. Is that right?
Yes.
Available in the portal. Auburn needs help. They need depth. I've never seen this kid play, but you need numbers, and you get a kid that's very familiar with the state of Alabama.
So everyone has been watching down on the bayou as LSU, they have picked up some nice pieces out of the transfer portal, but they have not landed that big fish at the quarterback position. They had gone on all in on Brendan Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback. They wined and dined him down in Baton Rouge, and he decided he was going to go to Lubbock, wanted to live in Baghdad instead of Baton Rouge, and he's going to get $5 million from the Matador Club for the Red Raiders. So that's where he's going to play quarterback. So LSU then pivoted. They had Sam Leavitt, the former quarterback of Arizona State. He came to town yesterday. Matter of fact, Lane Kiffin said, hey, let's go sit courtside. Let's act like we're in L.A. Let's sit courtside and watch the LSU Bengal Tigers lose embarrassingly to South Carolina in basketball. And so maybe that upset Sam Leavitt because Sam Leavitt left Baton Rouge without a commitment for Lane Kiffin. So instead of committing to LSU, guess where he is today, Landrum?
Where?
Rocky Top.
Oh, no.
He is at Rocky Top. That's right. Heading that way to go see Josh Heupel.
If you had $4 million that was already appropriated, would you not just go ahead and you said, this is what we're willing to offer Sam Leavitt? Would you not go ahead and offer an extra $500,000?
Just to get at Lane? You better believe it.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got a timeshare in Gatlinburg. I'd give him whatever he wanted. I would not let him leave Knoxville.
I feel like with all the noise that's happened between Lane Kiffin and what happened at Ole Miss, and now the coaches in flux and LSU in the transition, that there would be certain coaches and staffs in the SEC that would have a lot of pleasure and enjoyment in doing that.
All right, so Sam Leavitt, his first visit was at Kentucky, and then we know that Kentucky went and stole Nebraska's quarterback for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was the backup at Notre Dame. But, of course, now Nebraska's got the Heisman Trophy candidate out of UNLV, right? He's now your starting quarterback. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to you-know-what on Nebraska.
Oh, you should.
Because of that hook.
You should.
Yeah. Did not cover against Ohio State the other night.
I mean, short of them bringing in, golly, I was just trying to think of NFL offense. You believe they get it done with whoever's the quarterback?
No. As long as Dana Holgerson is there, no, they will not.
Thank you. Glad you said. I'm not saying his name in 2026.
All right, so Leavitt visited Kentucky. Then he went to Texas Tech. Well, then Sorsby went from LSU on a visit to Texas Tech. They consummated the deal, the $5 million deal to be the quarterback. And then Leavitt ended up in Baton Rouge. And so now he's going to Knoxville. So he's visited all these different places, and he must not have heard what he wanted to hear at LSU, or the fact that Tennessee said, hey, after you see Lane, come see us because we're going to top whatever Lane tells you.
Well, Lane's probably wanting all his coaches back because they can do the talking. That's not something he's probably really comfortable doing and holding court
he is
with some of these
awkward.
guys, and he's awkward. And I don't know if personality has anything to do with it, but he wants some of those guys that usually handle some of that heavy lifting with the conversations and in the downtime. Sam Leavitt, good quarterback, but he's not the most amazing quarterback I've ever seen in the college football transfer portal.
Of course, the LSU people, they're going to tell you, well, the last time we got a kid out of Arizona State, you remember what happened?
Yeah, he was good.
He won the Heisman Trophy. Well, I don't see Sam Leavitt running the ball like Jaden Daniels did.
Well, the last time, yeah. They got Joe Burrow out of Ohio State. Things worked out.
Year one, it didn't.
No.
Year two, different story.
Well, year one, they were, 8-5?
Yeah.
And then they totally changed their offense. Yeah, Sam Leavitt, if he ends up on Rocky Top, woo. And something tells me that after the year that they had and the quarterback, Aguilar did a good job, but the quarterback drama that they had, that they are ready to spend.
Mm-hmm.
You think the folks at Pilot are like, yeah, just tell us what the number is?
Well, Haslam, a little bit busy right now trying to find a head football coach for his Browns. His other hobby, which is the National Football League Browns, which, again, stunk it up big time. Some paperwork that Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports came across kind of gives us a little look-see into these NIL deals, especially with quarterbacks. He got his hands on the proposal that LSU gave to quarterback Brendan Sorsby. Sorsby got $5 million to go to Texas Tech. It's a $3.5 million deal. That's what LSU was willing to put on paper for Brendan Sorsby, which he decided to go to Texas Tech. So these multi-million-dollar NIL guarantees to players are expected to result in an influx of submissions to the NIL Go. Keep in mind, there's a clearinghouse that has to okay all of these deals. It's not like, okay, if it's not market value, you're not going to get the money or they're not going to approve it. So if these deals are denied, athletes are going to be deemed ineligible. So you're kind of rolling the dice here with some of these deals on these quarterbacks. This is a quote that Ross Dellinger had in his story that really stuck out to me. There's going to be some rude awakening once the clearinghouse starts looking at these deals. So you got the fancy graphic, hey, so-and-so's playing for us. We've signed into a deal. And the clearinghouse goes, oh, time out, folks. Just hold up. Let's take a look at this. And the clearinghouse could say, no, that this is not market value. I'm sorry, but Sorsby is not worth $5 million based on his production at the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, but you're right. That's going to make for some interesting roster management if some of these guys, and then there's nobody else to go and get, and they're locked into their deals at their respective schools. What are you going to do at that point?
Yeah.
What kind of legal recourse would you have if you're a student athlete?
And see, that's a great segue, because reason why is because late last night there was a story that came out that the University of Washington, they have no plans of releasing their quarterback, who they recently, 4 days ago, signed a new deal to stay at Washington, although he went on social media last night and said that he is going to get in the transfer portal. Now, as of this morning early, there is no official paperwork of Damon Williams Jr., who is the quarterback for Washington, to be in the transfer portal. But he signed this contract with Washington to return to Seattle in his junior season. And then he reversed course by posting on social media that he wanted to enter the transfer portal. So the shocking decision sends ripples immediately through the Washington program and through the college football transfer portal window. Williams had signed the contract. He agreed to return. And then a Washington source close to the negotiations told The Athletic on Tuesday night that Williams decided that he was going to post on Instagram that he was leaving, and Washington has no intention, none, of releasing him from his contract that he signed on January the 2nd. So the dispute could lead to a messy debate over the circumstances surrounding Williams' status. There was also a story last night by On3 that LSU
You imagine that.
was interested in Williams.
You don't have to go back very far because I'm reading it here. Damon Williams committed to Ole Miss back in 2022.
There's that relationship with Lane Kiffin. So Williams, however, had not filed any paperwork with Washington compliance officers to have his name entered into the transfer portal. Washington is prepared to pursue legal action to enforce the terms of the contract, according to a person briefed on the situation told The Athletic. There have been several examples that we have talked about on this show in which players have signed deals with schools and then it's turned ugly. Xavier Lucas, he transferred from Wisconsin to Miami. Wisconsin said Lucas had entered into a binding 2-year NIL agreement that included substantial financial compensation and allegedly attempted to prevent him from transferring. Georgia's athletic department is also seeking $390,000 from Damon Wilson II, claiming his transfer to Missouri terminated his name, image, and likeness agreement with the Bulldogs Collective. So you've got legal situations now brewing with these NIL deals, and we'll see what happens here. But it's interesting that On3 is reporting that LSU is absolutely interested in Damon Williams Jr. Meanwhile, I'm sure Washington might have something to say about some tampering from Lane Kiffin.
I'm wondering, was this, I'm just going from the LSU Lane Kiffin, you have Sam Leavitt, you're not getting the warm and fuzzies on the visit, or you ask him to give you a commitment before he leaves campus, he doesn't do so. So then are you reaching out to Damon Williams and going, hey, I know you just signed this deal.
I think that's exactly what happened.
How much are you getting there? Oh, well, golly, we would pay you $1 million more a season if you would come here.
Somebody had a picture of Sam Leavitt and Lane Kiffin sitting courtside last night, and both of them had their phones out. And I could see, like, Sam Leavitt.
That's probably how Lane communicates with the recruits because he's so awkward.
So here's what I'm envisioning. I'm envisioning both of them sitting there courtside watching LSU lose, again, 0-2 in the conference. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out. They're sitting there next to each other, and you've got Leavitt texting Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like Josh Heupel. Like, this dude is weird. I can't play for him. Please, can you guys see me tomorrow? I'm going to drive the 11 hours from Baton Rouge to Knoxville. Can you please see me tomorrow ASAP? Meanwhile, Lane is texting Damon Williams Jr. in Seattle going, hey, I can't believe I'm sitting next to this clown from Tempe, Arizona. How fast can you get to Baton Rouge on a visit? Sitting 2 feet away from each other, watching the LSU game. That's how I envision that happening.
Yeah, and just continuing to play it out. Who cares about what you signed?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Who's going to enforce it?
No, but don't worry about that.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin, I'm a walking billboard of what difference does it make if you sign something. I signed a contract to be the head coach of Ole Miss. It's just fuzzy. It's not enforceable.
I hope Sam Leavitt signs with Tennessee. That's my goal for the day.
Or
let's get Sam Leavitt signed at Tennessee.
Or maybe Lane Kiffin was texting Kim Mulkey and saying, hey, can you
bring the sequins out?
Yes.
Because this is not going well, and we need to dazzle this kid.
Yes. We need the boa. So we'll see. But, yeah, that's the fun at the quarterback position. And if you're just now tuned in, the big story on the quarterback front today was in Tuscaloosa as Ty Simpson has announced that, well, not officially announced, but he has told the staff inside the building that he is going to pursue the NFL draft. So he will not be returning to Alabama.
Yep. There's other transfer portal news that we will get you up to date on. Also, some new former Auburn edge rusher, Jamonte Waller. He is committed to Arkansas.
Arkansas. Is Arkansas still in the SEC?
No offense to Ryan Silverfield.
I mean, I'm just curious.
But
did I miss the memo that they've moved on to the
since he
Big
got
12?
that job, has there been any buzz? I know basketball season just officially started for folks there in Fayetteville, but has there been any buzz whatsoever?
You know, I talked to Ty Richardson.
I know one thing. I can go ahead and speculate this. Jamonte Waller just got paid.
Yeah.
I
think they got plenty of money. I just don't know if anybody wants to go there. Yeah, I talked to Ty a couple days ago. He called me, and we were talking about some things, and he did not mention how well it's been going from a college football standpoint.
Well, if you need a linebacker,
basketball.
Oklahoma's Sammy Omosigo. Omosigo. Just say it really fast. He's in the portal as of 32 minutes ago.
Omosigo. Okay.
Yeah. He spent 3 years at Oklahoma. He's a loyal guy.
3 years?
3 years.
Wow.
He might have his master's.
That's a long time in this day and age.
Coming out of high school, he's a 4-star recruit out of Crandall, Texas. Good luck, Sammy.
Also on the Alabama front, Bama 247 was reporting this morning that Cam Coleman, the former Auburn 5-star wide receiver, is lined up for a visit this weekend to the Capstone. Wouldn't that be something if Cam Coleman ended up at Alabama?
And does having Ty Simpson announced, does that affect any of these guys and their moves? Not saying that Ty's back, but the opportunity to go and play with Keelan Russell.
Possibly.
You're probably selling that if you're the offensive staff.
Mm-hmm. If you got a dangerous tree leaning over your house or maybe branches blocking your view, call Golston Tree Service today at 205-337-4443. Golston's licensed pros. They handle everything from trimming and pruning to full tree removals, fast, safe, and affordable. Don't wait until the next storm causes damage. Call Golston Tree Service. Golston offers 24-hour emergency tree service. So when it comes to your trees, don't risk it. Call Golston Tree Service at 205-337-4443.
I'll let you answer this. Ben on the text line says, isn't Kim Mulkey a little too old for Lane? Three-man front continues.
12:22 back on Jocks. This is three-man front. Pat Landrum, Molly with you until 2 o'clock. We'll talk to Trey Wallace, who's covering the college football playoff for Outkick. He will join the program momentarily. You know, the New Year sales event is going on right now at Courtesy GMC in Trussville. You can get by and see them off of I-459 exit 32, or check them out online at courtesybirmingham.com because they got big savings right now for all in the market for a brand new GMC. I'm talking about $15,000 off the MSRP on a Sierra, brand new in stock. They get over 100 to choose from. They're on their 9.5-acre lot in Trussville. AT4s, Denali's, SLTs, you name it, they've got the lot, and they're ready to roll with these great savings. If you're more of an SUV person, Courtesy GMC's got you covered there too. You can save thousands on brand new Yukons, Yukon XLs, Terrains, and Acadias. And when you buy that brand new GMC from Courtesy GMC in Trussville, it comes with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. That's peace of mind for the long haul. So shop the huge selection going on now, Courtesy GMC at courtesybirmingham.com or in Trussville off of I-459 exit 32.
Your texts are there on the text line, 205-834-9450 on the transfer portal. This one coming in from one of our listeners. Thanks for listening in Jocks Montgomery. Is it possible that the schools are offering outrageous amounts knowing that the clearinghouse is going to deny, and then the player will be stuck and have to take market value? As far as the outside kickers, I guess that's what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm. It's a dangerous game to play.
It is. And you don't want that on your reputation as a staff or a program. Word gets around quick, and that wouldn't last very long.
And just a friendly reminder, the transfer portal,
if you were being disingenuous, is what I'm saying.
It closes on January the 16th. That does not mean that if you're in the portal, you have to declare where you're going to go play by the 16th of January. That is just when the window closes, and there will not be another portal window for 2026. So that's why you're seeing the flurry of activity and trying to get your rosters established now, because you got spring ball right around the corner. So you can be in the portal. You don't have to come out on the 16th, but you have to have your paperwork in that you are intending to transfer.
David from Tuscaloosa asked, hey, Landrum, the $5 million that Texas Tech quarterback is getting, is that per year? Of course.
Yes.
Let's see. Mike asking, is it market value what someone is willing to pay? Would that be technically the definition of market value? Mm-hmm. What someone is willing to pay?
Absolutely. It's our free market society.
Mike reminds us LSU went 10-3 in Burrow's first year. Offense was not as exciting as year two. Pat Smith, why so much hate on LSU? I think you enjoy hating LSU. Chris.
I don't enjoy hating anything. I just like to call out the inaccuracies and the foolishness that is going on down in LSU right now from both the media and the folks just lining up saying that Lane Kiffin is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Any Deuce Night updates? The last update that we had was from Auburn Sports on 3, and Justin Hokanson put out that he had heard that Ole Miss had offered more money to Deuce Night, but with Trinidad Chambliss and him putting in the waiver for the NCAA for the extra year of eligibility, not getting anything back or definitive there, that there is a chance that Deuce Night could return to Auburn. That was the latest I saw from Justin.
Also saw that, and this is kind of odd. I saw where Ole Miss is trying to line up a potential visit by DJ Lagway.
Okay.
I think DJ Lagway's kind of been all over the circuit looking for some of these face-to-face with some schools, and I don't know. I just did not see that
stock
would be
plummeted. Good bit.
And maybe Ole Miss is thinking that this is our safety net in regards to what's going to happen if Trinidad Chambliss does not get his additional year.
205-834-9450. That is the best way for you to interact with us as we are getting more guys making it official at Auburn, guys who had already committed. They've signed the offensive tackle for Michigan State, Stanton Rammel. He is already signed with the Tigers shortly after committing.
So one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about since Alabama's loss to Indiana was, why wasn't Cignetti up for the Alabama job? And we do this every day, and you know how this works. You know, hiring the head coach from James Madison University at Alabama was not going to be a real thing.
No.
That was not going to happen. I mean, he's done an incredible job in Bloomington, but that just
and that's not specific to Alabama. That time, Kurt Cignetti at James Madison, that wouldn't have gone over well at Tennessee.
No.
That wouldn't have gone over well at most schools in the SEC.
No. So, and I know that Pat McAfee, because he's based in Indianapolis and he plays to that audience in Indiana. And so, he's kind of taking some shots at Alabama, saying, well, why didn't Alabama offer Cignetti? Or why didn't Alabama look at someone off the Nick Saban tree to hire instead of Kalen DeBoer? So a few moments ago on the Pat McAfee show, Nick Saban was a guest, and Saban was asked by McAfee why Alabama did not hire from his coaching tree upon his retirement. This is the direct quote from Nick Saban. I think it's somebody was available. I'm not sure anybody was available that could have maybe gotten to come here, talking to Tuscaloosa. I fully support Greg Byrne in what he decided to do and what he's done. Didn't think that Nick Saban would say anything different than that, but basically he said, I think if somebody was available, I'm not sure anybody was available that could have maybe gotten to come here. I fully support Greg Byrne in what he decided to do and what he's done.
Man, it's easy to see what Cignetti's done and saying we should have hired him, but that goes for any school in the country. But I do think that Cignetti, the situation he had at Indiana, where it was not like Colorado, I don't want to compare it to that, but you'd been so bad historically in football for so long. It was almost like the perfect storm. And the guys that he was able to bring with him from James Madison, instill that culture. It's been a remarkable story. I wonder if he can sustain it. Are you betting against Kurt Cignetti in Indiana next season?
It is going to be a very, very difficult task.
Sure it is.
Just because the cycle of the guys that he has had and having to restart, and as we've seen, it's very difficult to have things go your way every single year.
Yep.
And so we'll see if that happens. One final Nick Saban quote on the Pat McAfee show. He was talking about Kalen DeBoer. He said, Kalen DeBoer is doing a good job, but I'm hoping that he can get the ship going in the right direction here because the result was not the expectation around here. End of quote from Nick Saban. We'll talk to Trey Wallace, who'll be covering not the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl tomorrow night in Atlanta, Georgia, or 2 nights.
Double dip.
Yeah, let's try to get him on a plane, cover both games. He joins us next from Atlanta here on Jocks. Oh, let's go to Atlanta, Georgia.
I see
Trey
what she
Wallace.
did here.
Yeah, Trey Wallace joins us from
Hoosier?
Outkick.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting ready for the rematch between the Hoosiers of Indiana and the Oregon Ducks, a Big Ten championship there in Atlanta. Hey, Trey.
Hey, Trey.
Hey guys, yeah, I changed it up this week. I had done the Ole Miss thing for I don't what he ruined my Thanksgiving, so I guess we're going all the way back to Thanksgiving. And then he pretty much ruined Christmas as well with all the nonsense that's going on. So yeah, I decided to you know what, I'm just going to drive 4 hours to Atlanta and cover this highly anticipated rematch between Oregon and Indiana. I'll take it.
All right, so before we talk about the game that you will see in person, let's talk about the Ole Miss Rebels because the drama continues with Lane Kiffin, the 6 assistant coaches. We found out this morning from Pete Golding, who's actually going to be in attendance and coach. You had, obviously, Joe Judge. He had some interesting comments yesterday. From the Trey Wallace perspective, has this gone better or kind of the chaos you expected when Lane Kiffin did what he did?
I think it's gone as expected when they tried to have assistant coaches getting on private jets and flying back and forth to Baton Rouge or Oxford. When you had assistant coaches that were literally in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl, get in a rental car, go 80 miles north, I guess you could say, to Baton Rouge to get in on staff meetings before the transfer portal opened up. So, I mean, I guess from like an assistant coach standpoint, it kind of went as I did expect. I did not expect all the assistants to make the trip out to Arizona. If folks want to put that on, you know, the assistants making that decision on their own, have at it. But let's just be honest, with the portal and everything going on right now, there were certain guys that could just not leave. And even, you know, and Pete Golden kind of hinted at that this morning, saying bleep, yeah, they would love to be here. But they're also getting paid by LSU. And when your employer tells you something to do, you can't go do volunteer work for somebody else. So, I mean, I somewhat understand that part. I think this thing is kind of gotten out of control. I think at the same time, we did have a little bit of finality to it today with Pete coming out and saying that, you know, Kevin Smith is there, Joey Garrison, and then Charlie Weiss Jr. is out there. So that's what you're going to get moving forward if they get past Thursday night's game against Miami. But this is, you know, this entire situation has been, I think, more than people thought. And my biggest conclusion out of all of this was, how in the world did you think Lane Kiffin would be able to pull this off? I mean, if you got assistant coaches dipping out, you know, on a Saturday night to catch a jet back to LSU, to go talk to some transfer portal commits, and then get back on the plane, go to Ole Miss. Like, how are you preparing for the CFP? Like, I give a lot of credit to Keith Carter for looking through the nonsense that was Lane Kiffin acting as though he could pull double duty, because you thought this was a story, a big story right now, which it is, by the way. Imagine Lane Kiffin being the head coach at both Ole Miss and LSU at this moment.
Well, not to mention the fact that we saw how bad he was when he was supposed to be getting ready for the semifinal game against Washington when he was at Alabama. And then what did Nick Saban do? He fired him after the semifinal game. So we know if the tables were turned on Lane Kiffin, there's no way on God's green earth that Lane Kiffin could have handled the pressure or the coaches going back and forth, especially to your rival school like an LSU.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, can you? What's a crazy way to put it? Can you imagine if Ole Miss had hired another coach who would have been in the building, and if it wasn't Pete Golden, so been in the building at the same time Lane Kiffin is trying to coach Ole Miss for the playoff, while at the same time going back and forth to Baton Rouge. Like, now, you know, we talked about it a lot when it was happening, how none of this would make sense. And we're starting to see that come to fruition. It didn't take a head coach. It took assistant coaches to see how crazy this has really been. And, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I think the most surprising part of it all, and I give the network a lot of credit for this, was when ESPN last week said, no, bro, you're not coming into the booth for 8 minutes to do an infomercial on LSU while Ole Miss is on the field. Like, we're not having that. And then Lane Kiffin decides to go to the women's basketball game, and he walks out there like he's some prince who's getting his arm, dangled in the air by Kim Mulkey. You just, and then also the best part is he wanted to post something on Twitter after. Actually, you know what? That's not the best part. The best part is, and I wrote a story about this, Lane Kiffin tweeted at the 6:50 mark of the third quarter in the Ole Miss Georgia game that it's different here. And he was quote tweeting an LSU post. From that moment on, Ole Miss went on a 21-3 run, got back in the game, and at the end of the day, Ole Miss ends up winning. Like that, and I wrote about that after the game. I tried to tie some Taylor Swift lyrics in there and some other things that tied into it as well that I know Lane enjoys. But that was the most craziest part, besides the fact that he wanted to post something from the Superdome to make it look like he was there when it was actually his son Knox that took the picture. And so it just, the story never ends. And I think that, maybe it ends with Ole Miss hoisting a trophy at the end of the season while Lane Kiffin watches from afar.
You hear the scuttlebutt, and you talk to coaches, you talk to agents, you talk to a lot of folks in the college football industry, Trey. I'm just interested, outside of Ole Miss and LSU, what are people saying about Lane Kiffin? Folks in the industry, folks that work on college coaching staffs, because I can imagine that there's a lot of adverse reactions.
Yeah, ruffled a lot of feathers per se, and it's look, it's not like his reputation could be any better, it could be any worse. It kind of is what it is. Everybody knows what to expect from Lane Kiffin. Like, this is it. God love him, he tries to make everything about him, and that's okay. Whatever, that's just who he is. Like, you get to know somebody long enough. You come to expect the 2:30 in the morning voice memo that he sends you out of nowhere that just wants to be ranting for 5 minutes, and then you have the girlfriend look at you like, who's texting you at 2:30 in the morning? Oh, it's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, sure it is.
Sure it
right,
is.
Right,
What's he
sure
wearing?
Right, exactly.
Khakis.
What's he wearing? Okay, let me hear his voice. And it's like, oh, okay. But no, it's just like, I think when you look around the country, and I've talked to many ADs about this and many different coaches about how, they would have handled it. And they don't know, but they do know that they would not allow somebody from a rival school be on the sidelines and be coaching a team and making this about them. And that's what it would have been, guys. Like, I give credit to Pete Golding and how he's handled that. He said this morning that he doesn't give a bleep what anybody outside the building thinks about everything that's gone on. And they don't have anything to prove to anybody else besides them doing it for themselves. And I think that that resonates. And what we have seen, Lane Kiffin did his damnedest to go out and try to get Trinidad Chambliss and Kejuan Lacey, try to get Lucas Canero, the kicker. I could go on and on. Guys, none of those folks are leaving Oxford. And sure, did Ole Miss open up the checkbook? Absolutely. But LSU is going to open the checkbook up. So I just, I had one AD tell me last week, we had a conversation right before the Sugar Bowl, and this was nobody that was affiliated with LSU or Ole Miss. And he told me, I don't know how Keith Carter is doing this. I don't know how Keith Carter is going into the building every day and having to deal with some assistant coaches that are not being paid anymore by Ole Miss that are being in the building while they're also at LSU. And then at the same time, with Pete Golding as your head coach, because you had to take a chance on that. I've been told by multiple sources that was not the plan. Pete Golding being the permanent head coach was not the plan at first when everything started going crazy. It just turns out that it transpired and it happened on that Sunday, and I think they made a good decision. But as for Lane, guys, it is what it is. When he makes his coaching tour next year, there's going to be some very, very interesting situations that I think arise by a couple different spots.
Trey, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Can you hold for another quick segment? Are you okay with that?
Oh, I can. Yeah, you're good.
Fantastic. All right, Trey Wallace from Outkick. He will continue as we'll get his thoughts on tomorrow night's game in Phoenix and the game he'll be covering there in Atlanta for the college football playoff. More Jocks, three-man front.
12:47, three-man front as we continue on this Wednesday. National College Football Reporter, one of our favorites, Trey Wallace, joining us, continuing to join us on the Higginbotham Hotline as we continue, Trey, breaking down the matchup that we're going to see with Ole Miss and Miami. I'll give you credit because before we got that first game, or not the first game, I guess that the first Saturday of games in the playoff, you said look out for Miami when they were heading into College Station. And boy, Miami, they look so good. That seems to be the new darling of the college football playoff, and a lot of folks hitching their wagon to that horse.
Yeah, it really is, and it's all about the front seven and the amount of pressure they've been able to get on the quarterbacks. I mean, you look what they did to Marcel Reed, look what they did to Julian Sain, a combined 15 sacks over 2 games, and they did that where they had to travel to Texas, state of Texas, twice in 12 days. And you look at how they've been able to do it, and look at the pick six as well that really changed the momentum in that game against Ohio State. The thing about Miami is you don't know what you're going to get from Carson Beck every game, and that's okay. I think that's we've come to recognize that with Carson Beck. But I think with the Miami defense, the way they've gotten better over the second half of the season, you have to give them a hat tip, man. They are ferocious up front. They bring blitz off the corner that you're not expecting. They like to hide and spy. And at the same time, I'm curious to see what that looks like with such a mobile quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss, and especially a kid that's got a great arm as well. So you look at Miami and what they get out of Malacatoni. I mean, they do have weapons, and I think I'm guilty of this. Like I looked at the Louisville loss on that Friday night, and I looked at the SMU loss, and I'm like, how can a team that good defensively, that I know is good defensively, have those type of performances? And I think it's a group that just continued to grow. And so when you look at them right now, I understand why they're favored. I think that what they are able to do, what Mario Cristobal is drawing up, this is a squad that has turned all of the talk that happened in the back half of the season. I was kind of one of them. I was like, I don't know what this Miami team is right now. I think they're good. I think they have a good defense. I think the offense can be more than stagnant, but they've proved a point. And so you go into this game, and Ole Miss played Georgia last week, and we all know how Georgia's defenses can be and how good they are. I think this Miami defense is better, and they're going to be tested. And I'm curious to see what Trinidad does outside the pocket. Can Stribling get open down the field? What can Trey Wallace, my favorite receiver in college football, do out in open space? Like there's so many optics to this, and that's why I think that if we're all just looking at it and being honest with each other, even all these 4 teams, we don't know who's going to win the national championship. I think Miami's defense is going to play well enough. I think that Ole Miss can do enough with their running attack with Keon Lacey and also with Trinidad on offense. I know they got a hell of a kicker, but we still don't know. And so I look at Miami, and I got to give them, like I said, a lot of credit for being in the spot that they're in, and they deserve to be the favorite in this game. And now we're going to find out if Ole Miss can go knock somebody else off.
All right, let's talk about the game that you will see in person. We got an eye full of Indiana against Alabama. Can anybody slow down that? Oh, man. Can anybody slow down this train, or you think it's going to be Indiana when it's all said and done anyway?
See, I think, there are ways to play this Indiana team. I sat there and watched them, when they played Ohio State. I thought Ohio State's defense played them pretty darn well. Now, look, the last 2.5 minutes when Indiana, went down the field and whatnot, and they won the game. Okay. Look what Penn State did with Indiana. Forced Fernando to put together his Heisman-type moment in the last minute of that one. Like, there are ways. Like, even the first game between the two. So I think that there is an opportunity here with Dan Lanning's defense where they're going to draw up some crazy blitzes, and then they're going to drop back, and then they're going to have somebody that is spying on Fernando. And can they force him into mistakes? The problem for Alabama is they just didn't have the weapons overall. They couldn't get into an offensive shootout with Indiana, and I think that the offensive line for Alabama. Um, Bad is probably not the right word. I'm trying to be kind here, but that group kind of fell apart in the back half of the season. So I don't think you're going to have that when it comes to Oregon. So this is an opportunity for Dan Lanning in a rematch to go up against a squad that, in my opinion, they can get the pressure and they can potentially force mistakes. My biggest thing is, can Oregon's offense with Dante Moore get this thing rolling? It's not as if they were lighting it on fire against Texas Tech last week. So, that's where I'd be a little bit concerned if I'm an Oregon fan, because I look at Indiana's defense and what they were able to do. I think this opens up opportunities. But I honestly, guys, I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think there is an opportunity for Dante Moore to potentially get outside the pocket and cause some more problems that maybe Ty Simpson could not cause. I can even go back to look at that James Madison game that Oregon played. Credit to James Madison. I mean, they were scoring some points. They were racking up some offensive numbers. And, so can that be replicated? So this is one of those where it's Dan Lanning versus Curt Cignetti, two of the most intriguing coaches in college football for two totally opposite reasons. And I think that, when it's all said and done, I'm going with the upset on Friday night. I think Oregon beats Indiana and will play for a national championship. Guys, there's something about Dan Lanning and going up against this squad again, knowing where they faltered in the first game, can retool it defensively and get after Fernando Mendoza. And I just think the run comes to an end in Atlanta for the Hoosiers.
We got less than a minute, but I do want to go full circle here. Damon Williams, talented quarterback, Washington, signs a new deal 4 days ago. Now he says he wants to go somewhere else. He's going to enter the portal. I do find it curious that he committed to Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin back in 2022. Do you think the two are related in any way?
Yeah, I do. I think that's the same reason why you saw a report come out last night about Sam Levitt visiting Tennessee after he would leave LSU. That was probably some pretty awkward conversations that were going on at that basketball game between Kiffin and Levitt last night. I do think there's a correlation, and talking with some folks about the stuff that's going on at Washington. What this is really going to come down to, guys, is he's going to owe them a little bit of money to have to leave. When I say a little bit of money, probably some six-figure range, and potentially at the end of the day, LSU is about to have their other quarterback.
Trey Wallace, he's the best. Trey, thank you so much for the time. Safe travels. Enjoy what we have left of this college football season, then we can talk about all this other nonsense.
I look forward to it, guys. Have a great rest of the week. We'll talk next week.
You as well. Trey Wallace, Fox and Outkick, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. New details coming out in Damon Williams and what it means for him, what it means for Washington. We got the details of his NIL deal, and we'll give it to you next.